Imagine you open your eyes and you're in an X-Wing. You look around you and you're in space. It's breathtaking. You reach forwards and take control. Feeling the joystick in hand, you pull the trigger and lasers fire. You increase your thrusters and feel the jet engines rumbling throughout your seat. And before you know it, you're in battle. Well, that's exactly how my past week has been, playing Star Wars Squadrons with a virtual reality headset, joystick for flight control, and tactile transducers mounted in my chair. Yes, there's a cable that runs to my gaming chair. All of this combined has created the most immersive experience that I've ever had in virtual reality. Like, I genuinely can't remember a time where I'd been this immersed playing a game. So this video today is going to try and break down why I think that is, and why this game and this setup is something you have to try. So it's basic anatomy that you and I have 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. To make something immersive, we need to cover as many of them as possible, and that's what all of this does. Sight, well, the virtual reality headset clearly has that covered. Oh shit! That is lit. Sound. Well, noise cancelling headphones is clearly going to be the most immersive way to block out your environment. Smells are pretty easy one to take care of. Don't have any crazy scents in your room that's going to draw your attention away from what you're doing, like some freshly cooked brownies or something. Unless you could burn some electronics in the corner and then get that smell wafting about, because if you play like I do, your ship's almost always on fire. Taste is covered easily because it's a flying game, so you're not expecting to be tasting anything whilst flying an X-Wing. And finally, touch. Clearly the joystick covers this. I've played a lot of virtual reality games using the standard VR controllers, and they feel nothing like a lot of the stuff that you're holding. But put a joystick in your hand and try and fly a spacecraft, you 100% feel, or your brain's convinced, that you're controlling that spacecraft. It's a surreal experience, pulling and yawing and pitching and all the aviation terms that I have no idea what I'm talking about, and doing that in a game and having your spaceship also pull off those maneuvers. And the tactile transducers on my chair provide haptic feedback, rounding off the full sensory overload for immersion. Okay, so now a few things about the game specifically, which makes me like it even more. It's $50 up front, 50 Aussie dollar dues, and that is ridiculously cheap for a game in 2020. It has no in-game transactions. There's no loot boxes or surprise mechanics. There's no upgrade DLC that you have to buy, which will segregate the community. It is a one-off $50. You get everything, and everything has to be unlocked by grinding throughout the game. There is a campaign and multiplayer mode, which obviously teaches you in the campaign how to fly and navigate and do everything with your ships. And then in multiplayer, you're just out battling other people. There's Dogfight, which is team deathmatch. I love this the most because you can just drop in, have a quick match, and then get out. And then there's ranked matches, which are fleet battles, and these are more elaborate. They require some skills, kind of deciding a couple strategies and rigging your spaceship out to fight against like larger ships, and there's a lot more involved. All the game mechanics aside, it is just so fun to go into training and just fly around. It is just breathtaking to steer in and out of obstacles with a flight stick in VR, and it just be so simple. See, my joystick is pretty standard. Your right hand goes on the joystick part of the joystick, and the 6 buttons and this little flappy bit here is your throttle, is where your left hand belongs. Now, trying to learn what each of the buttons are, like the numbers 7 through to 12, and the numbers here on the top, is a little bit hard to do in virtual reality because you can't just look down and see what the button numbers are. So I spent a lot more time playing just out of VR to learn where each control is, and then going back into virtual reality to practice out what I've memorized. It's very easy to see why the HOTAS flight sticks are popular with VR users, the hands-on throttle and stick. I think that's what the acronym stands for, because you have the joystick plus your left hand has designated buttons. So you never have to like think about where your hands are because they're never leaving those 2 positions. But with mine, you kind of are trying to find a little bit with your left hand, but I don't think it's worth $100 difference if you just want to have some fun. Now, if you pick up this game, I highly recommend reading the controls because while shooting, targeting, and changing your direction of power, those are pretty straightforward, it can get complicated with combo presses. So holding down 7 brings up your shields, setting to front, back, or balance. But holding 10 will give you more objective-based commands. So these are all from a pick wheel as well. But it gets even more complicated. Pressing 2 will target an enemy, pressing 5 will cycle enemy targets, and double tapping 5 will target the enemy that's targeting you. This is really handful for looking over your shoulder in VR, lining them up, and blasting. Now, I spent a little bit of time playing with a controller and keyboard and mouse just to see the other experiences inside and out of VR. They're all super fun. The game is fun, hands down, however you want to play it. But for the immersion level that you get in virtual reality, holding a joystick, dude, it's just, there's nothing like it. Now, what's with the chair, I hear you say? Well, I mounted tactile transducers underneath it. What are those? Bass shakers, pretty much is the street name for them. You can buy off-the-shelf products from Subpack or Ruja, but I didn't like the idea of having to sit against something ruining the ergonomics of my chair, so I just DIY mounted some onto it. This way, whenever there's low-end bass in a game, such as a grenade goes off, you shoot a sniper rifle, or in Star Wars, the engine rumble, there's an explosion, you feel it. It rumbles to the frequencies on the sine wave of the bass. It's not a random dumb rumble pack that you find in like a gaming controller. It's something completely else. And I'm going to explain more of it in my video next week when I show exactly how I did it. So yeah, all of this stuff makes the most immersive VR gaming experience that I've ever had, hands down. So I'm really excited to finish off this game. Speaking of VR, I've just uploaded an 8K video with Ambersonics audio. So if you're interested in that, I'll link it down in the description below. It's only 3 minutes long, but it's an interesting short film and a way of telling stories in 360 video. If you loved today's video, make sure you give it a thumbs up down below and consider clicking subscribe. Thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you later. Bye.